Good morning, everyone. Welcome to a valued conversation, GenX spoken word. Find somebody who knows somebody to tell somebody about what I've got going on over here. If you like it, let me know. Share it if you do, and subscribe if this is what you're looking for. So today we're going to go ahead and get back to the original reason why I put this channel together, and that was to look at the dating habits of people over the age of 50. That sounds archaic, and it is, because if you go back about 40 or 50 years, there were no people who were actively in the dating market like they are today. This is an anomaly for multiple reasons. But prior to looking at it like that, what I want to do is take a scalpel to this whole thing right now. When I was 25 or 27, in my mind, I had no doubt by the time I got to the age that I am right now, 54, going on 55 in a few months, I presumed, or better yet, I assumed that I would be married by now. Or if I had gotten married, still married and with kids, which is not the case. I am not alone in this at this point in time. So there are people who may have gotten married in their early 20s and then divorced in their late 20s. Or if they didn't divorce, they maintained the marriage for at least 10, 15, 20, maybe 25 years, who now find themselves divorced or widowed, with kids, without kids, you name it. The combination doesn't really matter. What is on table right now, what is on deck, is looking at the amount of folks who are still dating past the age of 45. So let's start it off by saying that the people that are going to be centered in this will be late generation Y, or as you were, late generation baby boomers, who are referred to as the Jones generations. So I'm going to scoop everybody up right now. The late stage baby boomers, starting at 1960, starting from there or stopping there and starting with Generation X, 1965 to 1980. And then let's go ahead and scoop in the early Generation Y folks. So we'll say people born between 81 and 85. Right, we've got to have a cutoff somewhere. So we're going to say this range of people that I'm going to address in this video extends from 1960 up to 1985. So as I said before, the whole aspect of dating is completely different now. So what made the change in how we approach dating? You know, pardon me for a second. I need to turn off my alarm on my phone. Jeez. My apologies, that was getting distracting. Hopefully I'll remember to turn it back on. So, the main factors that change the way that we saw dating, and again, these are separate titles or videos on their own, but they still cross connect here. They correlate. All right, we have an area of dating, an area of social movement. They all intersect, so to speak. So let me just go ahead and put that out there and preface it with that. Birth control, sexual revolution, women's rights. This played a part in changing the dating environment that we know today. Because prior to that, when it came to women having a voice inside of dating, when it came to the sexual aspect of it, if you had sex without a condom, or if your guy didn't, for lack of a better expression, pull out when he did, there was always the issue of pregnancy on the table. All it took was one time. But once the pill came to be, women now had a greater control of their sexual libido. They were now able to determine when they had sex, or more importantly, who they had sex with, if they did or did not want to find themselves pregnant by the person they were with. It gave them a greater span of control. Now, I can hear some of these bastardized red pill ideology following dudes out there, pulling your hair out if you have any at this point in time. But I'm not going to get caught up with that, because another aspect of the issue of dating that we're having right now is this bastardized concept of red pill that we see getting pushed right here, where masculinity is supposedly under attack. Public service announcement. Masculinity is not under attack. This misappropriated ideology of red pill is what's catching flack right now. So we'll again get into that in a video that I will center strictly for that. For right now, we're also going to look at how the concept of red pill further down the road is going to affect the dating process right now. But scooting back again, so the pill has come into play. Let's also have women's liberation. That's come into play as well. So as a result, men who had the idea that, hey, I'll make the determination on what we do about dating started to see a change in that. They started to see what women were saying, well, no, I've got options. I have choices. I don't want to have sex with you. I don't want to date you. I don't want to be put in a position where I can't choose who I want to be with. This was a change from the dating pool, because prior to that, when a woman and a man got together, or should I say when a boy and a man and a girl got together, you generally had an arranged family setting. Something about maintaining the family line, the lineage, also for economic reasons. So consider it to almost be an arranged marriage, which in cases it pretty much was, but it was Western style. There was still an aspect where the families would say, well, when your daughter reaches this age and my son reaches this age, let's make sure that we have them get together so we can continue our family dynasties. And then somewhere around the mid to late 1800s going into early 1900s, the concept of dating came into play. So once the concept of dating came into play, that meant that now people had options. It was something that was pursued primarily during the 1920s. So if you look up the roaring 20s and dating, you can see that was when the concept of dating really took on. And from the 30s, the 40s, and 50s, it was an experiment in some areas. It was a movement. It was an action that changed the course of how people got together. Now, this whole time where you're looking at dating becoming more of a thing rather than just courting and then getting married, you had dating, which means that people can shop around for what they did or did not like before they decided that they wanted to get married. And then, of course, from dating, it then went into courting. And then from courting into marriage. So there's been a whole change of this. So when you have an option to whereas now a woman does not have to worry about her sexual reproductive activities resulting in pregnancy, to whereas now she can abstain from that or put it on hold or just squash it all together, there's going to be a change in the way a person conducts themselves. Again, for all you misappropriated red pill guys, chill the F out on this. Just hear it out. This is that mirage that a lot of you don't understand or take the time to understand. Now, I'm not saying that I condone any type of explicit behavior now that I'm at the age where I am, because when I was 20 and 25, I was rooting for girls to come out here and do what they're doing. So go ahead, girl. Hey, I may not be Mr. Right, but right now, if that works for you, I'm your dude. I will not even front as if I were not one of the folks shooting for that. But still, the thing is that when she could determine her sexual exploits, her behaviors, and how she did things, that changed the dating market right there. You no longer had girls who were going out and looking for men in the sense that I want to get married right now. There were still those girls who did that. But then there were other girls who did not, who wanted to go out, forge their own way. I don't want to go to school, find a guy, get married, and settle down. I want to find a guy after I have been to school, I've gone out, made my money, got my bag, so to speak. And now I want to look at getting married. But this woman is now 40 something years old. She's not 20 something as she was before when all the options were there. So that's just a cruel fate of design, so to speak. And when I say design, I'm not talking about, anything religious or nothing along the way like that. I'm talking about how her body is. There's a time limit on certain things. Men, not so much. I've spoken about this before, whereas from a biological imperative, men go out to make themselves, well, I can't say make themselves present, but go out to get as many women as possible pregnant to ensure the proliferation of their offspring. The female biological imperative is to find the most dominant and competitive male to have children with to ensure her offspring survives. So she essentially, or at least what the concept was, she was looking for that male who was going to be able to provide for offspring. She's going to be looking for top shelf type of shit. But we have gotten to the point whereas how many women are actually looking for that top shelf dude nowadays? Actually, there's contention. She's not looking for this top shelf dude because I don't need a man. I can do fine without a man. So when I've said before that men chase and women choose, that has been a factor here. But there's that silver lining here, because even though men chase and women choose, if you fit the type that she has, you still have the ability as a man to persuade her. But again, the dynamics are all over the place, right? So what do we have after birth control, after sexual liberation, after women's movement? We have this detached type of mentality, this detached relationship that exists here. So from that, we have archetypes that have popped up. Now, guaranteed, men have always been out doing our thing, which not always has been the most honest thing. But we do know that relationships have taken place and that there have been particular archetypes that have existed. So I'm going to throw out 6 of these that I've recognized over my lifetime. So the first would be the independent woman. Now, ladies, this is not a session, by the way, just to put this out here, this is not a bash and bag on the ladies session, all right? Understand this. What I need for you guys, and I'm talking to the girls right now, I need you to be honest. I need you to be genuine. I need you to be able to say, yes, that is just foul female behavior, and not look at it, oh no, that's just her empowerment and you're complaining about her being an empowered woman. No, just stop the shit, okay? Let's not get into that. You know damn well when you have crossed a line in behavior and accountability. Now, I'm not gonna take that off the fellas either. I am for my guys, but I am not against you ladies because I am pro-relationship. So you need to always keep that in mind. That's both for male and female. I am a pro-foolery identifier. I am an equal opportunity foolery identifier. So everybody can catch this smoke when it comes down to it, all right? So again, we have the independent woman. So how is she described? So I'm going to be looking at this from the perspective of when I was a young man. So F some of y'all. Screw you, Eric Gosh. Anyway, as a young man in the mid-90s or so, the independent woman was becoming more and more of a thing that was recognized on the dating scene. Now, what brought this about? What brought the recognition of a woman out here running things into the forefront? I'm going to say it was the 1992 movie Boomerang. Who remembers Boomerang? Some of you may be too young. Some of you may not even been born. But still, Boomerang was that movie where we saw Robin Givens' character walk in and take down an established big dog in the movie, which was Eddie Murphy's character. Eddie Murphy's character personified what men saw as being, you know, the dude, that guy, him, back in the day. So I suggest if you want some entertainment, check the movie out. Long story short, you've got a pimp player who's sitting on top of his game that found his whole Jenga stack kicked over by a chick who behaved just like him. She was, for all intents and purposes, the epitome of what a man would behave like if he had breasts and girly parts. That's the best way to put this. He didn't even see it coming. She walked in, established a level of control, got him to trust her, to see her as being a rock that he could depend on for his sex, for his conversation. And then once she got what she was looking for, she put him on hold. Took his whole Jenga stack down, as I just said. Boy was not a damn bit of good. So during the course of his recovery, trying to deal with this independent woman, he started talking to the independent woman's homegirl, which was played by Halle Berry. He struck something up with her. It seemed like they had something going good. Then all of a sudden, when he was back on, meaning that the independent woman decided, well, I want some of his time again. Obviously she gone out her Rolodex and made time for him to be put on her calendar. His time had come up. Hey, I'm free. What you got going on? All of a sudden, he starts gravitating back to Mama Big Dog here. So we're going to call that. He was the big dog, but this was Mama Big Dog. Mama Big Dog took over and had his nose wide open. But as movies go, when he's got himself back involved with her and then tried to lie to his side piece, which is the only way to put it right now in the movie, to his second girl, which was not even, say his girl, but we'll just say to his interest, to his actual love interest, she said, to hell with you, put 5 across the side of his face, which I say he did earn, and she left. Of course, we get the old Hollywood ending, whereas he realized that he made a mistake. He tells Mama Big Dog, hey, I'm done with you. I see that there's nothing here for this. I know where I want to be. And scurries with his tail back to his leg, back to the main love interest. But what I want you guys to understand here is that no one really looked at women running the show like this, having her own roster. And that's what the independent woman was able to do. She had her house, she had her money, she had her education. And sometimes you say, well, if you can't take care of this, I got you as well. So I myself didn't have an issue with an independent woman growing into adulthood past the age of 25, 27, 29, because that meant she could pay for shit. And that was the best thing if you had a girl who had her own shit together, which means that now she's not always in your pocket. But when she wasn't in your pocket, she was in your damn ear. Well, I can do this for myself. I don't really need you to do that for me. Oh, I'm capable of taking care of this on my own. Eventually, you got to the conversation. If you're first meeting a woman like this, some men are intimidated by me. Girl, it wasn't that men were intimidated by you, depending on the type of man you dealt with. Those of us who could provide for ourselves, money, car, house, the same thing that you have, it wasn't you being intimidating, it was you being irritating about talking about what you had. Because as a man, if I say, yeah, I've got my own car, I've got a house, I'm making bread, I'm an asshole. But if she did it, it was to be praised. And maybe so it was, because this was where we're starting to come out of the phase of where women are doing the same job as men, but not getting paid the same. So there was that argument that was coming to a fruition once again. Why is she doing the same job as him, but not getting paid the less? Well, of course, you had items that were thrown on the table that made mention of why a woman was not making the same amount of money that a guy was. So 3 things that a woman does not want to do in the course of making her bread. She doesn't want to be physically asserted. She doesn't want to smell. And she does not want to deal with danger on a day-to-day basis. So these were 3 of the things that men still hold the brunt of when it comes to that. So as a result, the ideology that was put in place is that if she is not doing those 3 things on a day-to-day basis, then hey, why are you complaining about not making as much if you're not willing to sacrifice as much? Different video. All right. I'm just letting you know. I'm just shining it through here. This is the mirror. And as you know, when you look in the mirror, all you see is what's there. The mirror does not care about your hopes, your dreams, or your aspirations. It just reflects what's in front of it. So look at me right now as just providing a reflection. I'm not saying I'm for, I'm not saying against. I'm just establishing the same thing that a mirror does. Something is just there, and I'm just giving you some information about it. So With this being said, you've got the independent woman who's making all the same type of advances at some point in time in society and in careers, just like a man would. Notice I say this, just like a man would. So this also came into the relationship factor of that. If she's high-wheeling and getting things done at the job, she's making the call on that. What's to make you think that she would not present this same behavior when you got down to a relationship aspect where she's talking to a guy who makes a little less than her or not that much at all? She is going to put in her mind that she is going to dominate. If I do this at work, why would I not do it at home? If I control the way that my life works on a day-to-day scale of 9 to 5, why would I give up that span of control if I'm going to be dating somebody who does not have as much as I do or more? Now, this is where you also hear this conversation of, I can be feminine for the right man. No, you need to be feminine all the time because that is what's expected. Now, maybe that's a problem in itself because there's an expectation that women should be feminine, men should be masculine. So why is that a man can be held to the line of being masculine? Oh, you're not being a man about this. But if she decides that she can be feminine for the right type of man, where's the standard? How do we maintain the standard if she's going to pick and choose when she wants to be feminine? How often have you heard a man say, well, I can be masculine for the right woman? That shit wouldn't even fly. It wouldn't even get off the ground. Hell, I'd even slap the guy next to me for saying some shit like that. Like, no, dude, that's not how it works here. Now, I'm not one of these he-man, man, masculinist type of dudes walking around here, but I do know where some shit needs to not be said. It should not even be introduced into the ether. So therefore, you do not have men walking around saying, I can be masculine for the right woman, because we are expected to be masculine at all times. So therefore, it is no different, ladies. Your femininity should be 100% all day, every day. Switching back and forth, no, that means that you're just taking advantage of the situation as it pertains to what's convenient to you. And you see a lot of that still. But again, with the independent woman, well, I can be feminine for the right dude. And who was the right dude? The dude who was making a certain amount of money or was her type. So understand, guys, if you are treated any other type of way that you're not expecting, if you're putting a level of effort into a woman and you're not getting it back, you most likely are not what she's looking for, but you are just the alternative. Keep that in mind. All right, so enough about the independent woman. We know that she's got her own money. She's got her own place. She's got her education, all these things that reflect around her that make her an adult. The same thing as if a man would say that. But the thing is, that's not what she is gauged for. You being able to provide, that is not your bailiwick. That is not your stick. As a dude, I'm looking at a woman to be feminine, fit, friendly, fertile, depending upon your age, cooperative, agreeable, shows discretion, discernment, and brings peace. Now, guaranteed, when you hear this, you're going to think, oh, there's that red pill nonsense. No, that is what a man wants. As I said before, what you just heard me say, what a man is looking for a woman, looking for in a woman, that has been misappropriated. That is not an expression exclusive to this corrupted red pill, or what you hear in the manosphere, which I've said many times, I'm not a part of. I happen to have partners who are in that space. I do know them. I know what they stand for. But no, just because I swim in the ocean, it doesn't make me a fish, does it? It doesn't make me aquatic life. Just because I've gone in, stripped down, jumped in for a dip, it doesn't make me a fish. All right, so therefore, by me stating to you what I've just said about what a man is looking for, it doesn't make me a manosphere. It doesn't make me this bastardized red pill. It just makes me a man who has a certain like of what he wants to see in a woman. So I'm getting a bit ahead of myself right now, but let me just go ahead and lay it out right now. So if that's what a man is looking for in a woman, a question would be asked, ladies, what are you looking for in a man? So I will just go ahead and put forth what I believe a man should be offering. Now, ladies, it's up to you to accept that or not. And this is not like it's the first time that I've said that. So what, as a man, should I be offering or should you be looking for in exchange for what I've just mentioned from your femininity, fitness, friendliness, cooperation, and so forth? I should be responsible for providing focus, guidance, direction, discipline, security, stability, masculinity, fitness, knowledge, care, protection. And notice I didn't have to look at a list. That is something that should always be here, fellas, when the question is asked, what is it that a man should bring to the relationship? We're not talking about 6 feet, 6 figures, 6-pack, all this type of qualifying factors. I'm not going to call it shit, because those are qualifying factors that are still being looked at when it comes to relationships. So we can't push that to the side. Don't make that mistake of thinking that a man's height or a man's money has nothing to do with it, because it does. Because remember her biological imperative to find the most successful male out here to ensure the survival of her offspring. Those play into it. It's not the only thing, but they play into it. Now, dare I also forget to mention, which I did, integrity. So make sure everything that I've just mentioned before, include integrity into that. That needs to be an integral part as well. So that is the exchange that a woman should get for her time. And as a man, this is what I should get from a woman. And between those factors, if we pull out her peace and we take care and protection, we put that together, that will be mutuality. That is the binding element, mutuality. Now, I've got one more thing to add to that, but I'm going to save that for the end because I don't want to give the whole game plan away right now. So again, when you're dealing with the independent woman, you've got to understand that she's got her desires, she's got her likes and wants also moving on here. So what's the last aspect that I'll talk about when you're dealing with the independent woman? Well, again, we should not be dealing with this I can be feminine for the right man type of nonsense. You need to be feminine all the time. But let's say if she is in the role of her femininity, there's still going to be I don't want to say lasting, but there's still going to be an irritant to her. And that is her independence. That's what makes her the independent woman. My independence to be able to do what I want whenever I want, and I'm not going to sacrifice that. So I've heard independent women say, well, I'm an independent woman, but what's wrong with me wanting to also have a man in my life? Because you being independent means you do not need me as a man. I'm not required. I'm an accessory. As you boast and brag about your independence, I'm just something that comes along or that you happen to have in tow. That's the issue with you talking about your independence, but I still want to have a man. I still want to be married. Even more ridiculous. Why would you, as an independent woman, feel that marriage is something that works for you when you cherish your independence? I've even heard so-called independent woman make the statement, yeah, I'm getting married, but I'm really worried that getting married is going to cause me to sacrifice my independence. Then why are you getting married? Makes no damn sense. Why are you getting married if you're worried about losing your independence? You know what? I'll let it rest right there. All right, so let's move on to the second archetype that's out here. Or at least, again, we're talking from the perspective of the mid-90s or so. You had the woman with her independence. So what is the biggest difference with the woman with her independence versus the independent woman? Remember, the independent woman has her job. She has her career. She's got her house. She's got her education. She's got her car. She's got the proclivity to always tell somebody about those things and then make the statement, some men are intimidated by me. The biggest difference is that the woman with her independence has the exact same layout as the independent woman, except she's not always running her damn mouth about it. Now, is a woman with her independence capable of still behaving like an independent woman? Yes, she is. The thing is that you would never really see it on the outside because the woman with her independence is more demure about how she expresses her level of contentiousness or adversarial nature if she supports the same ideology as the independent woman. I don't need a man. I can get by without a man. I'll get a man whenever I feel like it. I'll get married when I want to. as if you can make that determination. Now, the woman with her independence has all those characteristics as well. But what separates certain women with independence, what separates women who have the independence is that they are willing to work with a man, provided he shows some type of spark that she feels that will be a benefit to her. Now, everything we do, folks, it's a benefit to ourselves until we find that one person. And when we find that one person, we realize that what if I do something, or what if I'm doing something that benefits me, but I also realize that she finds it to be a benefit to her also. Yes. There's that hint of mutuality that I was talking about. If there's a way that both male and female find the same type of outcome, which is a benefit to both of them, you've got that type of progress that used to be a solid deal when people got married in the 50s, 60s, even 70s. There was some type of standard that was maintained. Now, the standard that I speak of for Gen X and also for the baby boomers as well is that men were respected, women were virtuous, and children did not speak until spoken to. That was a legit thing. Now, the way that you hear me say it does not translate into what you may hear someone who will tell you, oh, well, back then, our grandmothers were slaves. They had no rights. They were stuck in the home. The man controlled everything about... Again, pardon the language, but stop the bullshit. This is not that type of conversation. And for those of you ladies who want to have that type of conversation, I'm going to relaunch a video that I took down that I had audio problems with, but it's time to probably put that back up again. I believe that I called it Patriarchy versus Free Will. All right, look for that. Patriarchy versus free will. So we're going to have that conversation about your grandmothers or our grandmothers being slaves to our grandfathers. When in actuality, there's more that went on back then that we give credence to. Grandmama was not this innocent type of gal. There was a mentality and also a stigma that was put in place for the man who left and went to work versus leaving his little girl or his little lady at home. While the husband was away, the wife did play. But you don't hear a lot of that spoken about these days because I will admit there was a lot of dirt getting done back in the 50s and 60s, but because of the look of impropriety that would have taken place had a light been shined on it, it's been glossed over. But we'll talk about this. Again, patriarchy versus free will. So anyway, going forward for what I'm saying here, we've got to give it some credence and look at how the relationship structure got overplayed. And because of it being overplayed, we lose our footing sometimes when we look at where we are with how we got here. And a lot of that has to do with how the woman's perspective of her role and her abilities were opened up, as I said, when the pill, women's rights, feminism, all that came to play. It made a lane for where she could express herself. So getting back to the woman with her independence, yes, she looks like that independent woman. But if she is willing to build with the man, that makes everything, once again, a different offshoot. All right, we've got a different timeline that we could work with. We've got a different outcome that we could possibly expect. What makes life worth living? Now, you always hear it stated that people are not made to live alone. So when we take a step into where we are right now, let's move forward back to where we are right now. How often do you hear the concept of a woman wanting to work with a man? But at the same time, how often do you hear a man speaking in such a tone that a woman would want to work with a man? Right, so we have conflict on both sides of the structure here, right? We've got extreme conflict because on one side, you can still hear people talking about, oh, don't waste your time trying to build with a man. No, you need to find a man who is already a finished product. Then you've got the guy on the other side stating, which I would say, well, wait a minute. What do you mean you don't want to build? You don't want to invest? No, girl, don't invest in any men. That's what you're doing wrong right now. Don't invest in it. Instead, you want to be waiting at the finish line for that guy who's already got his stuff together. So now we're to that port, as Ice Cube would say, to that port. We're to that part now where there's no more effort that she is going to make. I've got my money, I've got my education, I've got, you know what, I need a man who's like me. I'm not going to invest in this guy. No, I don't have the time for that. I need to be looking for someone who's ready to roll right now like I am. So I'm just going to go ahead and stand here at this finish line and see who's already made it, or sit here and see who's coming down the lane. So ladies, I would say to you, if you are going to stand at the finish line waiting for a finished man, when he gets there, or if he's already there, you'd better be a complete woman. But in essence of that, even being a complete woman, waiting for a man to get to the finish line, both of you still have to agree on something, and that is value. Too many times I've said it, but this is always a good time as any other. Value has no worth unless it's agreed upon. Unless it's agreed upon. Because in the end, we all have to realize we get what we qualify for. So a woman standing at the finish line waiting on a man who's already a finished package to get there, or who's already there, even when this dude walks up to you, the two of you have to agree on a level of value that you can meet in the middle on. And if that doesn't happen, who did you leave behind and pass over, thinking that you could skip to the head of the line, believing that, well, I believe that I'm complete, I'm a finished package, so I want to get a finished package that's equal to me. And the package that you're focused on doesn't see you in the same light. And guys, we got the same issue as well. There's no reason to believe that we should not also have to qualify for what it is that we want. Qualification is that main thing that all of us keep leaving out. We have 5 human traits. 5 human traits that will determine whether or not value is found in us, therefore we qualify for the person we're looking for. Sight, sound, hearing, taste, touch. Did I miss that? Oh, let me do this again. Sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. Now, even this early in the morning, I'm known to throw a couple things to the side. So anyway, those 5 basic senses are what you need to cater to if you're looking to make any headway, any progress. It doesn't matter if it was 1950, 60, 70. It doesn't matter if it's 2010, 2020, right now. Those things never go out of style. I need to be able to look at someone and feel that you're somebody that I want to be seen with because you are attractive to me. A woman sees that the exact same way. So don't let this nonsense of, I gauge a man on his character, his integrity, his emotions. Girl, that doesn't mean a damn thing until this guy qualifies for someone that you want to be with. And in order for him to do that, first and foremost, you have to find him attractive. No different from a man. You want your eyes to be pulled, as a friend of mine used to say. The second thing, sound. What is the lingo that you're hearing? What is the dialect? What is the conversation? All right. Are you saying anything that makes sense to me? Are you talking about the new Cardi B, Future, Drake versus Kendrick Lamar bullshit? Or are we having conversations talking about the state of relationships, the future of family, the possibility of getting together, but we have common likes or dislikes? Are we having those type of conversations? That's what you need to be looking for. Or let me take that back. That's what I would hope someone would put above certain things, such as which rapper put the most diss records out, or just dumb stuff like that. But again, I'm past the age of 50, so I don't find that to be pertinent. The third thing, smell. Nobody wants to be around someone who smells like a bag of ass. That's full stop. We're not looking for that, whether it be male or female. If you go to the gym and you're going to be hooking up with somebody later, or even meeting them for the possibility of hooking up, wash your tail. Don't come to the gym already smelling like a workout. Clean up. Don't leave the gym, go home, throw a little water on yourself, get dressed and go outside, and you still smell like a squat rack. Don't do that. Clean up. If anything, if you're not going to clean appropriately because you're not expecting to get to a certain base in the relationship, at least put something on that masks that, right? So I'm joking here, but let's talk about smell, right? Scents, colognes, perfumes. These things go a long way, but you have to make sure that you find something that fits your own sense of, your own sense of smell. People have their own particular sense. I remember my ex-wife used to say that I had a Jean smell. My mother would say that also. I had a certain smell or scent about me. Didn't stink as far as I knew, but I just had a certain scent per se. So I would make sure that there were certain perfumes that I would have my wife or ex-wife put on that I liked to smell. And in the sense, I'd have some cheap, Jupe, Fahrenheit, or, that stuff that you could buy in the BX for some of those military guys. No, I would put that on instead. I didn't really put a lot of thought into it back then. But now as I'm older, I realize that cologne that you put on, that could be the inroad for you for conversation that starts everything. So, sight, sound, smell. You got to nail those three things, fellas. Ladies, it's just as important for you also. It works for everybody. The fourth thing is going to be taste. Now, we can't get into the positions of going out with someone and being able to go directly to their house like we used to be able to do back in the day. There was a time where you could meet a woman while you were out at the club, exchange numbers, and then possibly meet her the very next day, or even a few days after that, but you could actually meet together in public and go someplace. You can't do that as much nowadays. So for dating in the modern arena, even girls from the Generation X days will tell you, no, let's not meet right now. And you ask, well, what's the problem? She won't come out and say it, but just like the younger girls, the whole idea is, well, it's not safe, really. What do you mean it's not safe? But think about this. Now, as I said before, for guys who do not, for guys who do not subscribe to this bastardized red pill ideology, you are not going to look at the simple act of giving your phone number and meeting a girl as a threat. So for these he-man hating dudes out here who got issues with women for whatever reasons, and I will say, yes, there's a level of accountability that has been allowed to transpire that society has overlooked. Because of these guys focusing on that particular aspect, you have women who are scared to go out and meet men offline. A lot of them will rely on meeting guys online, and then once you meet online, you get into each other's DMs, you have comments. Eventually, she'll let you call her on a face-to-face, and then he makes the mistake, well, hey, let's go out. No. Let's just talk on this a little bit more. I need to feel safe. Again, a guy who does not operate in a manner where he feels upset and I won't say intimidated, but annoyed with women because of being told no, or always being in a position where it's always, well, wait, deny, delay. They react in a certain way. Us guys who don't behave like that, yes, it'll be a little annoying. Whereas, why is it that we can't just have a simple get together in public, 2:00 in the afternoon, plenty of sunlight outside, everybody sees us? Well, no, I just feel better if we just talk a little bit more. So that's one element of dating that has changed. So we can't look at ourselves as being able to just go out and have a good time anymore, or even Remember the time whereas within maybe 3 weeks or so, you could invite a girl over to your apartment? And it was always on the premise of, hey, once you come over, I'll make you dinner. Now, that was a real thing. That was a real thing to whereas you would make dinner and have her come over and sample that. And if you were her type, remember, if she is coming to your apartment, your dorm room or whatever, she is interested in you. That was a sure sign. So taste was something that always worked, whether it was you taking her someplace for a meal or cooking it for her. Ladies, I'm sure that you may have had the interest in a guy to whereas you would invite him over to your place. I like that also. Nothing better than coming over to her place, and then if she can cook, it is a win-win. So already this woman pulls your eyes. She is nice to look at. She smells good. She talks good. She cooks good. And when all that is past, we get to that last thing, which is touch. That's when the physical touching, the kissing, and then eventually, hey, if we go into that slide-in mode, that's when it all comes to fruition. But you've got to clear those 5 things: sight, sound, smell, touch, and taste, in that order. So let's reel it back a little bit. So we've talked about the independent woman. We've talked about the woman with her independence. We've also looked at the fact that even if she is at the finish line waiting for that finished man, because women believe they have that option, and to a degree they do. Men chase, women choose. But again, if you are her type, she can be persuaded. Never forget, guys, a woman knows who she's looking for when she gets up in the morning. And if you get her time, you're either the guy she was looking for or an acceptable alternative. And even then, if you get the call up to the majors from the minor leagues, there's no guaranteeing that you are still the dude. But you have to be in it to win it and willing to put a risk on it, right? You gotta roll the dice at some point in time. Now, that being said, ladies, we as men cannot trick you for what is yours. Absolutely not. Now, at the same time, again, I'm not going to engage in this foolishness. Well, men trick women all the time. And, men force themselves on women. Stop trying to make, the unnormal the standard. All right? The exception is not the standard. So stop shooting for that. That's something that I see a lot of women do if they want to be right. They want to win the conversation. It's not a competition. It is not a competition at this point in time. We're talking about the ability for, again, you to bring peace, me to bring care and protection, and for us to work on mutuality. All right? So you got to lose that shit. As a man, I cannot take what is yours. One more time. I'm not here to play this SA game. So, all right, I'm not here to have this conversation about, well, men do that. Yes, there are men who do that, but we are not talking about trying to make the extreme the standard. In the confines of a respectable relationship, right? There's no hands, there's no abuse, none of this nonsense. As a man, I cannot take what is yours, ladies. If you like a guy, he may get your time. If you like him and think that his integrity, his character is great, he may get your time. But the minute he gets your time and gets ghost and you can't find him, get him on the telephone, email, or whatever, all men are dogs. All right, so that's what we're dealing with. But still, it was your choice. And that's what we all have. We have choice. As a man, I can't take from you what is yours. All I can do is convince you why you should give it to me. Because I'm a salesman. But seriously, all right, no. It is going to be your choice whether the best or worst of my intentions are made. You always have that choice. And that's the key thing that gets lost in all of this. The choice that you ladies can make. But that doesn't leave me as a man off the hook. because I still need to be able to provide something that you see worthy in me for the relationship to even begin, much less for us to even get to marriage. So I can't account for some of the guys who run game. And I'll admit, I've done it too. Hell, matter of fact, I've been on both sides of the fence. I've gamed on women and I've been gamed by women. So that leads to, well, I'm not going to take us to this particular archetype of man, the evolved man. Before we get to the evolved man, we're going to step back for a second and we'll move to the next individual on tap here. All right, so again, woman likes to wait for the man at the finish line. Woman waits for man, man shows up, man and woman look at each other, man and woman have to have the conversation. Is there any value in what we're looking for? Value has no worth unless agreed upon, because we get what we qualify for. So if she looks at him and feels that, nah, you're not it, he looks at her and says, no, you're not it, then you have a mutual walk away. But if she falls for him, but he doesn't see the value in her because she doesn't meet whatever expectation he has, there is going to be fallout. What you want me? You don't know what you're walking away from. All right, there can be that. There's generally that what you see. Girl, why would he want you? First of all, don't let your girlfriends get you into some situation where they build you up and they get your Jenga stack knocked down. Now, as a guy, if we get rejected, we're just told, well, deal with it. You know, grow, figure out to do better. That is our burden to bear. It's expected of us to take a loss, walk away, go back and build yourself. If she takes a loss, oh, it's a national tragedy. Would you say that would be the majority of women or the minority of women? It's been accepted to hold the guy accountable for any failure that may occur or any type of dislike in her appearance, whatever she has to say, basically rejecting her. If she gets rejected, oh, there's a problem. Well, he was never up to your standards anyway. Don't let your girls get you in trouble. I'll just leave it at that. So fellas, moving on. We have the acquisitional male. So what is the acquisitional male? Now, from a standpoint of when I was out here dating, these are the archetypes that I'm talking about right now. Excuse me. The acquisitional male was that dude who was out in the mix. Everybody knew who he was. He was on the scene. He was sometimes called, yo, that's the dude. Yeah, that's my man. No, that's him, which is the expression I believe that they use nowadays. The acquisitional male was that guy that everybody knew, and he had a crowd of dudes who was always following him. He was similar like the independent woman. If I forgot to mention, she was also the center of her group. All the girls who were considered the it girls hung around her. So you got these two crowds here now. You got the independent woman and you've got the acquisitional male. And generally speaking, it's always the loudest, most roguish voices that get the attention that seem to also set the standard for everybody else. Why is that, right? So this guy, if he's not seen in public doing it, everybody knows that he's got 2 or 3 girls on the side, that he'll tell her one thing but do something different. But still, in the end, she still wants to be seen with him. This dude was not the most faithful dude out there, but as long as he came back to the girl that he called his girl, his main girl, everything was good. Now, I have to admit that I played the role to a degree of this dude when I was younger, but I did not let it grow to a point to whereas everybody knew my business. Oh, no. There's only so much of that you can play before you get found out, right? So the role was to be seen with folks who were always part of the in crowd, to associate at parties where these people would go, but to not be a part of that clique who was throwing the party. Do you see what I'm saying? I had my own game that I ran that I did not make known to the larger or the greater clique that everybody knew of, nor did I get myself involved to whereas I was always seen hanging out with the acquisitional male, AKA the man's man. Yes, I had a certain appeal that I could run just as he did. But if you put yourself in that position to where everybody always sees your actions, what can you keep to yourself? The last thing I wanted was someone being able to say, "Oh, there's John over there. Yo, by the way, when John was out last week, he was doing so and so with old girl over here." Yeah, yeah, that's right. But wait a minute, isn't she friends with so and so? Well, yeah, but how did John sneak up into it? Hey, he just did his thing. Yeah, I did. I did that type of mess until it got done to me by a boomerang. Yeah, I got hit in my head with a boomerang once or twice, stole my game out from under me. And anyone who's been hit in the head with that boomerang, had their Jenga stack knocked over, you know that they're nice where you can't get a good night's sleep. You don't feel like eating. You start losing weight. But that was part of the game. All right? Always remember, when you're going to participate in the dating market, you either take statistics, you make statistics, or you become a statistic. This is a common thing that not many people will acknowledge. Yes, there is truth in the saying that sometimes you have to get played out before you are truly ready to play. But there's a lesson that's good or bad that can come from that. The bad lesson is that if you get played, well, shit, I just need to play everybody else before they play me. The good lesson is you recognize, okay, I got played out, but I deserve that. I didn't respect the time I was given. I didn't respect the person that I was doing things with. As a result, this is the consequence. Now, if you take that first lesson, all you're doing is perpetuating this issue that we have with dating right now, even after the age of 45 and after the age of 50. You have people who may have been stung, hit with the boomerang, had their Jenga stack knocked over, who are still doing the same thing right now at the age of 55 or past that, because they did not learn the lesson. The appropriate lesson to learn would be, I did folks wrong. I've got done wrong. I don't like the way it makes me feel. And because of the fact I'm recognizing that I don't like this feeling I'm going with, how about I not aid that? How about instead I keep trying to build up instead of to tear down for my own selfish needs? If you were able to walk away from being hit with that boomerang, having your Jenga stack kicked over, and you took away that lesson, then you can listen and understand what I'm saying right now. This is going to make sense to you, and it will become a baseline that you start to operate from. A key thing that I always would tell myself is that I don't want done to me, or should I say, I don't want to do to somebody else what I had done to me. But it took for me getting hit in the head with that boomerang to recognize what I was doing wrong. All right, so just a side piece on that, right? So the acquisitional male role. Yeah, I got out, I did my thing, I got around, I had girls that nobody knew where I found her, where I happened to meet her. God damn, John, where'd you meet this girl? Oh, I met her out at so-and-so. I made sure to go separate and away from places that everybody else hung around in to make sure that whatever girl I rolled up on, she had the distinction of knowing that she is the only one that I did certain things with, or she's the only one that she knew of that I did certain things with. A key thing that you don't want to do, or you did not want to do, is always find some girl who's within the same vicinity of all the other girls that you're messing around with. Now, that was just some dumb shit. But if you had your game on par, you could do that. Duke Mitchell, shout out to you, man. If I haven't said anything as of yet, by the way, folks, I'll take a minute to say, hey, thanks to Duke, who helped us grow the channel up to 1,000 folks. Duke and I used to be tight way back in the day when I was at Nellis Air Force Base when I came in the military back in the 90s. So he and I were, as I say, part of that dating culture, whereas we knew all the folks, the big dogs, the players on the yard, but we did not associate with them. We kept to ourselves. So therefore, nobody ever knew what we were up to. Now, remember this moment I was just saying that you don't want to have all your girls in the same area messing around because you don't want them to know who is who? There was a time that I did get busted at one point. I did get busted, and it was all when we first had call waiting come into the phone system. call waiting sold my game out. So the way that it happened is that there was a girl that I was sort of seeing, sight, sound, smell, touch, got through all of that. Got her into the room once or twice. But somewhere along the way, I ran into a friend of hers. Did not know that they were friends. So these two girls knew each other. I didn't realize that. So the way that it's set up was that I got a call from girl A one day. Hey, John, you want to go out? Yeah. All right. Okay, give me 5 minutes. I hung up. 2 minutes later, girl B calls. Hey, what are you doing later? Oh, hey, I've got nothing going on. I'm just hanging out. You want to go out? Yeah, give me a minute. Let me clear something up. I called girl A, but hey, I'm not going to be able to make it. Let's try this again. Oh, okay. So girl A hangs up. I called girl B back. Oh, no, I can't make it now. What do you mean you can't make it? Well, something just came up. Oh, okay, fine. I hang up. I call girl A back and say, hey, my calendar's free. I'm good now. How about we get together? Then I hear a boop. I thought we were supposed to be getting together, John. Click. Them two heifers set me up. Ugh. I still laugh about how they set me up. Caught me cold busted. All right, yeah, so I lost access to both of them. Or should I say to just one of them for a little while. The reason being because of the fact that my game was good enough, I met a friend of girl A. We'll call her Jill. So Jill knew girl A and girl B. So the minute I start talking to her, Jill's like, well, I just heard from A that you a player. I said, look, girl, here's my schedule. I even got my boy to vouch for me, right? I don't know why I'm smiling. Look, I was young, all right? You do shit when you're young. You do young shit, okay? So I got my boy to vouch for me to say, like, yo, John doesn't have time for all this type of stuff. And here's the job that we work. When is he gonna have time to be out here messing with all these girls? So I was about 21, 22 or so at the time, but I got him to help me sell it. I said, look, girl, I don't have time for all this. So if you're going to believe girl A, then you don't really need to be spending time with me. I've got other things that I can be doing. So the opportunity is here right now for us to hook up. So what are you going to do? You're going to take her word for it, or you're going to see for yourself? So this is where I think I heard the line, who are you going to believe? Me or your lying eyes? Yeah, a lot of the stuff that I've come across and had done to me, I deserve this shit. Yeah, I have deserved a lot of it. But anyway, the point I'm making here is that because of the fact I was able to convince her that her partner was just hating, I got her time. Sight, sound, smell, touch, some slide through. Yeah, got through it. Caught up in my room a couple of times. Matter of fact, girl A had called one time, hey, what are you doing? I said, oh, I'm nothing. Just pause. I'm not doing anything. I'm not doing nothing. I'm in here chilling. Oh, well, so what you got going on right now? Oh, nothing. Jill and I are just lying here, just chilling. Oh, okay, well, yeah. So let me hit you back a little bit later, all right? Bye. Click. Jill says, who was that? I said, that was your girl, Chrissy. I thought y'all were cool. She just tried to call and hook up with me. Oh, huh. I said, yeah. What is that all about? So eventually I told her, hey, look, well, I'm getting ready to leave country. I'm PCSing, so I guess this is it, girl. And this is what I told her about a week or two later. So I always had a way, I had my out game. Yes, I was getting ready to leave the country for a new assignment, heading to England of all places, right? This is back in '92 when I got orders going to RAF Bentwaters, UK. So I told her about a month and a half before I was ready to leave. Yeah, I'm going to be out of here in about a week or so. So I'd like for you to come, but I don't think I can take you with me. So why don't we just stay in touch? I'll try and hit you back when I get over there, and we'll see if we can work something out. Okay. So when I had that last phone call with her, she's thinking I'm going to be gone. I was, to her. I'm back out on the block now, and I'm scooping up and I'm making moves one more time before I get out of the country. So right before I get ready to get gone, I'm thinking like it's maybe 2 or 3 weeks before I actually get out of here. I get a phone call, and I didn't pick it up at the time. And then I hear this message. It's Jill. Oh, yeah. So I heard that you're supposed to be leaving town, right? But yet you still here, and I saw that you were out with somebody else. Somebody even told me that you were out with somebody else. Yeah, motherfucker. Oh, you trying to play me? All right, fine. Well, I hope your plane crashes when you get over there, all right? Have a nice life. F you. All right, yeah, I took it with stride, but hey, that's what's going to happen at times. But the thing here is that Duke and I laughed about it, said, yo, man, still got what I was after. And when you're in the moment at that point in time, you think, yeah, man, life is good. But that type of behavior is impactful sooner or later. And as I said, at some point in time, you get caught in the back of the head with the boomerang and your Jenga gets kicked over. So what do you do when you get to that point? Now, as I said before, as an acquisitional male, I didn't worry about that because my game plan was simply get in and get out. I'm not worried about your feelings, I'm not worried about your times. I'm worried about how much time you're going to make me wait. And if I felt that she was going to make me wait for a significant amount of time, I would instead go find somebody else to kick it with until she was ready to play ball. The absolute worst. I was the epitome of all that horrid shit that you gals talked about dudes. That was me. Yes, it was. Now, at some point in time, though, I met a young lady back in 93. For a couple of years, we had an excellent relationship. We actually had everything that I like to talk to you guys about today, where you meet someone who's going to work with you, who sees the faults in you, and will still take the time to spend with you because they look for the potential that things are going to get better. I can honestly say, prior to meeting her, my biggest fear was that I would never be able to be with just one woman. I just couldn't imagine it. If girl A was not available, okay, on to girl B. Girl B was not there, hey, I'll talk to C, and so forth. I would spend most of my money on gas and eating out, buying food for these chicks that I was trying to impress. And again, you could get away with that back in the day. You do certain things, you show up, and make it seem as if you're going to be there. You get in and you go. Or you just make sure, all right, she's in the book. So if something going on over here, I'll give her a call. If she gets mad at me, says, I don't want to see you anymore, okay, cool. Let her cool down about 3 to 5 months or so. When activity gets kind of low for me, or if it gets low for her, what's the way to find out? Hey, yo, what's going on? Oh, John, what do you want? Hey, come on now, let's just have a conversation. We don't have to get into it right away. What's been going on with you? Oh, well, so-and-so, I was dating him, but he turned out to be a dog. Oh, really? Yeah. He's a jerk. He's just an asshole. You know what? You're right. He is. That would be my end back to the promised land. And then, of course, I end up with that same shit again where I go in, do my due, and then either she gets tired or I get tired and it blows up again. But that was the cycle that I was accustomed with. But when I met her, I showed her a list of all my numbers, even my little book that I had, and I threw all of it away in front of her. Let her know how serious I was. And for 2 years, that was probably one of my best early relationships before I got married. But I got comfortable. I got full of myself. Made a comment about her. the level of stupidity and where they say feeling yourself. To this day, we may be able to have a conversation here and there, but again, it's just never the same after you transgress to a point to whereas you make a statement that affects someone's sense of self. Yeah, she got past that, or she tells me that, but I still recall the day that I said these ill words to her, which I'm not going to repeat. But just understand that when you criticize someone to a point that they lose a sense of self over that, you are a rat bastard. When they recover and they're able to continue on in life, that's a great thing to see. But you got to remember that there's always going to be some type of disdain for you. You may not be hated, death may not be wished upon you, but you will never, ever have a sense of belonging to that person that you once had, which is to be expected. That's something that she is entitled to. I fucked up. I own it. But years later, after both of us have been married, divorced, occasionally when we have a conversation, we can speak. But the things, of course, will never be the same in that particular respect. So you go on. That's all you can do, folks. You continue going on. So we've established right now that I'm a rat bastard sumbitch, or have been. I copped to all that. Yes, that foul nonsense was me, and I caught my boomerang one day. And when I did, it took me down 3 or 4 pegs. I recall having my psychology instructor. He was a doctor. I'd ask him to have conversations after class sometimes, or just to meet me someplace to where I could get some things off my chest about how I had been affected from a relationship that I put stock into. He said, you know what? You have to remember, you are important also. And from there, I started my grand awakening, per se, which leads us into the 4th archetype, the evolved man. So what can you call the evolved man? He is that dude who has done dirt, but he has also had dirt done to him. And because of that, he's taken into consideration, or let's go ahead, let me own this. I took into consideration of what I had done to others, about how I had lied to Jill, about how I had played the field with multiple women, telling them, yeah, girl, it's us, knowing damn well it was us and whoever else that I either met or was going to meet. So that's what the dating structure was like. To whereas when you played games, but then you got played, you came to a realization, this shit is not all about my emotions. It is somebody else's emotions as well. And if you are not prepared to look at it from that perspective, all you're going to do is be that person I talked about who learned the wrong lesson. Sometimes you have to get played in order to be ready to play. But you don't have to play ruthlessly. You can play in a manner that there's going to be a win for everybody. So the wrong lesson to take is, if you get played, well, let me just turn around, I'm gonna play everybody else. That's not the lesson, as I said before. The lesson is, okay, I got played, I deserved it. So how about I don't play in that manner and I hold some things in regard going down the road. The evolved man is going to be that person. After taking your loss and realizing that you are only perpetuating the hurt, or proliferating, I should say, the hurt that you felt by going out and continually doing it because you want to get to as many people as possible before they supposedly get to you, you have not learned the lesson. The lesson is just don't do it. But that's going to take a certain amount of individual, or let's say a certain amount of intestinal fortitude to ensure that that type of behavior is not continued. So the evolved man, after coming to this realization, you may find yourself getting stepped on 1 or 2 more times here and there, but you understand how to at least look for it. So when it does occur, you don't take a total loss. You're able to recognize that maybe this is not the best thing for both of us. So what is something that helps you get a little bit more solid in your game and recognizing that there's a level of manipulation that comes in dating, whether we're talking 1950, 70, 2000, up to now? There's always going to be that element. So if you're late to dating, like I was, I didn't get started dating, so I was probably 18. That's probably the first time I got some slide through. That's right, 18 years old for the most part. So when you come to the game late, you miss a lot of cues. So think about this now when you have someone who is 55 or 60 years old, Gen X or late baby boomer, even early Gen Y. So we'll say 45, in between 45 and 60. Let's put it that way, in between 45 and 60. So what you have now is someone who missed cues. You know, you weren't popular in school, you didn't do a lot of dating, therefore you didn't go to a lot of social events, you weren't included in a lot of social activities, so you did not learn that you have cues out here. To know when a girl is looking at you, that she is giving you the sign, hey, you can approach me. Or if she's looking at you like, don't approach me. You know that there are guys who will be there to, yo, man, I got your back. Yo, I'll be your wingman on this. As opposed to guys, yeah, man. Yeah, she's a decent looking girl for you. Me, yeah, I wouldn't do that. You start getting an idea of who is going to be for your best interest as opposed against them. Who's going to be your homeboy to ride with you or roll over you. There's also this thing of knowing when you're getting too close to the cake, right? So let's talk about not knowing when you're doing too much. So one of the things that our parents never really taught us is that while growing up, they always taught the aspect of a good day's work gives you a good day's pay, or hard day's work is a hard day's pay, or whatever. You get what I'm saying? Basically, if you go out and do the right thing, expect the best. One of the aspects that our parents taught us was how to deal with the transactional aspect of life. Work hard, you earn what you put into it, right? They taught us the transactional part of life, but they never really taught us the emotional aspect about jealousy, about, say, heartbreak, about isolation. These were not things that were commonly discussed by parents. Now, I can't say that I fault my parents for that, but if that was something that was never instilled in them, why would I imagine it being instilled in me? Hence, where are you going to learn it from? The greater society around you, from friends, from other family members, but mostly from experience. There's a level of experience that people will pick up, not from someone who will teach them a proper lesson or give them schooling to look for the proper attitude or proper behavior. You just learn it from life. And if you don't learn the lesson properly, then that's going to be a lesson that you take with you that will work to your detriment. At some point in time, we have to grow up and and realize this ain't working for you. At some point in time, you got to realize it's not working. But if you have certain factors in your favor, your certain height, your certain level of attraction, just the common things like that, to include also a level of confidence that you exude. There are some lessons that people will gloss over their entire lives. Then there are some who will catch the boomerang. So there's assessment that has got to be done. At some point in time, you have got to evolve, you got to move forward and recognize that as a man, and again, I can only speak from the male perspective, but if there's some wrong and harm that I've done to somebody because of my behavior, then I should not complain if it ends up at my feet one day. We all get what we qualify for at some point in time. So we're going to run that race And eventually, the type of behaviors that I've spoken of that you endeavor and participate in, it's going to catch you at some point in time. The worst thing to be is that person who never learns that lesson, who learns it at 1 minute, at that one moment, I should say, that now the loss of friends, the loss of family, just the loss of all of the things that you have built up or worked on around you is gone because of not investing. When I say not investing, that is not investing in aspects of a relationship that you can build on. So dating, it's a tricky process, right? It is a tricky process. But you have to have some type of idea of what you're doing because eventually it's got to go somewhere. So we're dating past the age of 50, right? So some of us have had kids, we've had families, we're now widowed, divorced. We're all mixed in the middle of it. Some of us have had kids and some of us have not. I'm that part who was married one time, did not have children, still don't have kids, but is there an interest of still wanting to get married? Yeah, I'm like anybody else. I'm looking at the remaining seasons that I have. Now, if you did not watch a video I put out recently, or I can't say recently, we'll say about a month or so ago, I called it reflecting on the changes in season, something along those lines. But basically what I'm talking about is looking at the seasons that have gone past and what we have left. So let's look at this as spring, summer, fall, and winter. We all know those 4 seasons, right? Spring is where things are new. Summer is where you get into your stride. Fall is where you've gotten to a point to where you are living and enjoying things you've invested in the first summers, or the first seasons. And then that last season is winter, where we all will face at some point in time, if we live long enough, through the first 3 seasons, spring, summer, and fall. Winter is that last one. And you can either meet that season with someone or without. So when I'm talking about the seasons, we'll look at spring, and I consider that to be from birth up until the age of 25. Summer goes from the age of 26 through 50, fall from 51 through 75, and winter from 76 onward. You want to get to a position in your life to whereas you are spending your seasons with somebody. If you've made a mistake and not invested in compromise, care, consideration, communication, balance, these are investments that need to be made early in your seasons. Therefore, when you get to that fall time frame, you're looking back at what you've accomplished with someone. And even better yet, if you make it to winter, you're not spending it alone. So there's a few of us who are now in this fall phase right now, whereas we're by ourselves, we're recognizing certain things that are coming to fruition, that being by yourself, although you may enjoy your time, you're not interfering with others, but you're recognizing that life could be better if you could share it with someone. You're recognizing those things. Perfect example. So just recently, I had a small injury with a heating pad, burned myself. I've got to go to the hospital occasionally just for them to help with the dressing. Reason being, I can't reach this little awkward spot where the gauze and everything needs to go. So I try and do it myself. I don't get it right exactly, but eventually I get it done. But that's just the same aspect of life. You're by yourself, you're doing certain things on your own. Yeah, you can get by, you can make it work, but are you truly living it to your best? No, but you're getting by. And that's not to say that getting by is a bad thing, but getting by sometimes is not as satisfying as it could be if you were living the best. So a partner of mine I talked the other day, he said he was 61 and that the dating market was a totally different spot for him. And I mentioned to him, has anyone educated you about the rules nowadays or what's out here? And it was odd having this conversation because he'd never heard the concept of 50-50 per se. He never heard the concept also of 100% provider or provider male or red pill, all this terminology that he'd missed because he was married for 20 some odd years. And then after that, he went to work for another, 10 or 11 or 12 years working positions, whereas relationships couldn't really be prioritized because of the job. But now that he's fully retired and he has the option to look and try and seek out something, as I mentioned to him, you probably weren't prepared for what was out. He said, "No, bro, I had no idea all this type of stuff existed." I said, yeah, there is a subculture in relationships that exists nowadays that you didn't see back when you got married in, I guess, in 83, 84 or something like that. So through the 80s, through the 90s, he had a family, a wife and kids. So therefore, this type of stuff that's occurring right now, he's oblivious to. Even folks who may not have been married back then, who have been single the entire time, or have had relationships or entanglements and situationships, there's a good amount of them who I have met who said, "Man, I don't pay attention to any of that." But if they're not looking for anyone, why would they? But the moment that you start looking for someone, you got to understand that there's rules to this shit. There's a level of understanding. But what does not change are the 5 senses that I spoke of before: sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, in that order. Those are always going to be first and foremost, but you've got to make sure that you find value in somebody else because you get what you qualify for. All right, so that can never be put to the side, right? You get what you qualify for. All right, so moving on. We understand that the evolved male is that dude who has had himself played. He's played on people also, but the consequences have come back and footed him in his ass about 30 yards. He has recognized the failure in his behavior. Now, that doesn't mean that there are not women who have also recognized that, but generally speaking, how often do you find that there are women who learn that lesson that, "Oh, I could have been better. I could have been this." There are those who do. There are those who do. I'm not taking away from that. But the key thing that we can never get away from is that, yes, the ladies are the desired objects. Again, men chase, women choose. But if you are her type, she can be persuaded. She is, I guess, the facilitator of the test. She is the test giver. If you are the dude that she wants to get the straight A in the class and get on the dean's list, she is going to give you the answers to the test. There is no way you are going to fail. That's just how it works, folks. You can be the guy in the gym that approaches her that she has no issues with because you are her type. Or you can be that other dude who approaches her that she goes and calls gym security because you're bothering her, because you weren't her type and you get labeled gym creep. Men don't turn women away at the rate that women turn men away. Because depending upon her level of attractiveness, you want to make sure that you get to her before anybody else does. Hell, even some of the not so pretty girls still get options somewhere along the way, provided that the guy decides that, "I don't want to be seen with you, but hey, you can still come over and you got to get gone by this certain time." That is still a factor. It is still a factor that people don't take time to acknowledge. There's always going to be a market for somebody, right? There's somebody for everybody. So don't ever believe that just because this girl is not attractive as somebody else, that she's not getting her fair deal of attention from guys who want certain things, but they just don't want to be seen. Yeah, that's an ill take, but it does happen. Just because you're not doing it doesn't mean that it's not getting done. There's another saying that I had for that that's in the back of my mind, but I can't seem to think of it at the moment. What was that? It'll probably come back to me about an hour or two later. But anyway, let's go ahead and move on. So the last two are the folks that you see nowadays in the dating market, and they don't have to be 35 or younger. I'm seeing that these folks are actually my age, maybe a little bit older, and still acting a damn fool. So let's talk about the unruly woman. So the unruly woman is this gal who is just openly contentious, adversarial, disagreeable for whatever reason, won't cooperate with you. I don't need it, man. I don't need to cooperate with the man. I can build this on my own. Why do I need the man when I can do this for myself? I don't need you. But hey, if I decide that I want you in my life, then yeah, I'll come and approach you when I feel like it. I don't need you to determine when marriage happens. I'll get married when I'm ready to get married. So I'm listening to all this type of nonsense popping off right about now. This is a woman who is 40 something years old, 45 or older. I'll get married when I decide I want to. Well, you know what? Now I'm ready to get married. All right, you're 45, you're 55, you're 60 years old talking about now you're ready to settle down. Time is a cruel thing, more so to women than men. Well, more so, not just time, but biology. Now, this is another conversation that I had recently. I'm going to go ahead and just drop this where it is right now. All right. So y'all have to forgive me. If it doesn't fit your fancy, all right, fine. So what? So be it. I said it. But it doesn't mean that it's not true. It just means that you don't like it, that you're not feeling what's being said. I'm not saying this for or against. Once again, this is the mirror. The mirror does not care about your hopes, your dreams, your aspirations. It's just going to display to you what is there. All right? So keep that in mind. You're going to find that just because of the fact you believe you have options doesn't necessarily mean that you do. As I've said before, it's all about what we qualify for. So as a woman, when you say that I'll get married when I want, well, no, it doesn't work that way. Marriage is going to be something that occurs if there's a man who finds the same level of value in you that you may want to find in him. So it's not going to be a thing of when I get down to it. It's going to be a thing of if someone is willing to accept the same as you when it comes to value. Are you valued the same way that he values you? Let's put some things on as far as years. Let's look at how we get to this point. Now, at the age of 20, and by the way, I've given this example before, but let's do it again. At the age of, we'll say 22, you got a young girl and a young lady. Young lady and a young dude, all right? Value is placed on her beauty. That is what we as men are looking for. She is attractive, she is fit, she's all these things. So at the age of 20, that is the peak, 22, you're in that range to whereas your value is higher. A young man at the same age, let's say that they've both finished college. They've just completed college. He's graduated, she's graduated. Whose value is highest right then and there? Especially if we look at it from the standpoint that a man is supposed to be able to provide for a family, take care and ensure the health and survival of his offspring and his wife. Guy leaves home, goes to school, graduates, gets into a job so he can support a family. Girl leaves home, goes to school, and while she's in school, she may meet her husband. Maybe she'll still graduate, but ultimately she becomes a married woman and that's the end of life. Not so anymore. And this is something I've stated in previous videos. The guy is still expected to go to school, get his education, get a job, and then be ready to support a family. Not so for the girl anymore. She's going to go to school, get her education, But instead of looking for marriage, she's going to go into the job market. She's going to work on getting her bag. She's going to excel as best she can in her chosen field. She may date here and there along the way, but no, I'll get married when I feel like I should get married. Right now, I just want to be in my career. And she'll go 20, 25 years, whatever, making her way. Is that a bad thing? No. But is there going to be a sacrifice that she made or did not make because of wanting to pursue her career? Double-edged sword. So when you start getting to the point, ladies, where you reach that 30, 35, now there's going to be an issue when it comes to childbirth. Now, as a guy, switching over, if he's looking to sow his oats, I want to see my reflection in the child. I want to be able to look back and say that I've raised children myself. I want to contribute in some way, manner, or form. Some manner or form. He is going to be looking for a woman who can do that. Now, the girl who is not interested in being a wife is going to shoot past that and work on her dreams. Like her mom said, don't depend on a man. Go out there and get your own. Make sure that you do what you can to make sure that you're okay. Sometimes if mom isn't there, if there's been a death and dad is a widow, he may say this to his daughter. But essentially what you have is her working on maximizing her value and her potential. As a young man, we have no true worth or value to put a home together unless you're a professional athlete to where you go from high school or college into professional basketball, baseball, football, whatever, and you go from being Burger King on the fries on the weekend to a multi-millionaire after 2 to 5 years of working in whatever professional capacity that you find in sports. That guy can be the guy ready to provide right then and there. But for those of us who do not move in that particular manner, who is not an athlete, so to speak, we have to make our amends a little bit differently. We have to work a lot differently. We have to build ourselves up, which comes in time. So the girl who is 22 years old and graduated college, she is at her absolute height of beauty. Who's got more value, him or her? It's going to be her. When she turns 27, she's still attractive, but some things may start to show in her appearance. But above all else, she is still in her beauty power band, so to speak. He's 27. He's still not there yet. He's just begun his walk of working and earning his way up. So when they turn 35, there's a change in fortune here. She is not that pretty girl on the block anymore. She is not the girl, to say. She's still attractive, but is she still that girl? No. Her level of attraction has started to go down. She's not getting the phone calls she used to. She still may get the attention of men, but it wasn't like it was when she was 22, now that she's 35 or 37. But our dude here, he's been out in the corporate world, or let's just say he's been out in the world earning himself to a level of worth, so to speak. His value is starting to be seen. He's now getting into upper management. So we move up to the age of 45. She is now finished working to a degree, and now she feels, well, now I'm ready to get married. Whose value is higher now? Biologically, she not at the good age to have children, although some women are still doing it. Still, she is not at the prime age to have children. Her looks may not be what they were 20-something years ago, but she's still attractive. She's also been on her own the entire time. She's dated here and there, but she never decided on marriage until now. Now she feels, now I want to get married. The question is she valued enough in her appearance, in her age, in her demeanor, that somebody would want to marry her? Because ladies, you can't get married whenever you want to unless there's a man who wants to marry you. And guys, you're not going to marry a woman unless she wants to marry you. So there's still this thing of two adults having to make a decision, a conscious decision on top of that. Are we going to be a union? So notice now I'm talking about ages where we're past 40. We're in that 45 and 65 range that I talked about. In this scenario, She's never been married. And we'll say that he has been married. But he is now sitting in that position where he is a senior manager, a senior leader. He is clocking dollars now. He has come into his value. So in a sense, he is now that dude who is at the finish line that we talked about earlier. She's decided, now I want to be married, but I don't want to waste time building with a man. I'm too far in my life. I'm at a certain level. I've acquired certain things. I want a man who's going to be on my level. See how this works? So again, she is mid-40s, never been married, never had any children, and her value as far as her appearance, which again, we all value. Although she may be maintaining, it's not the same as it was when she was in her early to mid-20s. What are the 5 things I talked about? The 5 human senses that we need to adhere to: sight, sound, smell, taste, touch. What if her appearance is not to his liking? Now, keep in mind now, she's at the finish line. I don't want to build with the man. I'm too far off the road. I don't have time to build with the man. I need to find a man who's already gotten to where he needs to be right now. She is sitting at the finish line, scoping for a guy who's already there. And if this guy, in this example, our 40 some odd year old male who's roughly about the same age as her, looks over and sees that she is not the type of physical appearance that he wants to see. She's not able to have children because he hasn't had children. Her demeanor is that, well, I'm ready to have children right now. This is what I'm looking for. All these 3 things will play against her, which means that ultimately she is not going to be valued the same way by him, the way she values herself. You see how this works? Do you see how this works? Now, this is not me giving you that scenario to whereas I tie it all together that the woman is the loser in the scenario. No, that is not what I'm saying. I'm saying that, ladies, you don't have the niceties that we as men do, because as you know, our biology, meaning our ability to produce children, continues way on to the point into our 50s, our 60s, even our 70s. Robert De Niro and Al Pacino have proven this. Hell, even Jeff Goldblum, I think, had children around the age of 70. He's got kids, I believe, still in single digits. Excuse me. Y'all, on the other hand, ladies, you don't have that option. You've got to get it done in a particular time frame between the ages of, let's say, proper consent, 22 to 35, maybe 40. Anything after that, you're starting to push that, right? You're pushing that. So you've got this adversarial and contentious, uncooperative, unruly female talking about, well, I'm ready to get married right now. I don't need a man, but now I think I want a man. In this scenario, does she qualify? No, she doesn't. Now, that's not to say that this dude isn't his own type of rat bastard. He's gotten to a point in his career where he realized that I've got influence, I've got money, I've got cash. You know what? I'm a man of value. Hey, I'm a high value man. So now let's look at the other side of the coin. You've got this guy out here who can now pick and choose depending upon if women value his position. And yes, you do have women who value their position, who look for that older man who is at a position and a point in his life where he can afford things, do things, go places, do things that he wants to do when he wants to, because he's got the ability to pay for it. Who remembers an earlier show that I did that talked about a severance package? Because this guy is now becoming an older, or has become an older man who has got resources at his fingertips, he is sought after by a certain group of women. So let's slide his age up maybe another 10 years or so. Let's say he's 55. So now he is cemented. He is senior president or senior vice president, or he's a senior manager, something along those lines. Let's say that he keeps himself in good shape, manages to still hold some type of appearance about himself where you can look at him and not realize he is as old as he is, or not, but still in this scenario, he is that older man that there are women who look for a man of that stature. Younger women. So here's that other part of the conversation about dating past the age of 50. Men in my age group generally do not want to date someone in our age group as well, because the bias here is that she's got a whole lifetime of problems that she's not willing to get rid of. So if she's not willing to get rid of these problems, I'm not going to deal with this. I'm going to see if I can find a younger woman to deal with who has not been corrupted by these things. Again, I'm not saying I'm for or against. It's the mirror. All right. I'm just holding the mirror up right now. So this guy in turn will attempt to date a younger woman. But the problem here is that you got the older women that now these guys say they don't want to date, who are coaching younger women. And again, look for my video on my channel, John Henry. Look for she wants a service package, but she's just an ex-girlfriend. You've got older women telling girls, hey girl, you need to make sure that you have a service package. So that way, if he breaks up with you, you're still good. Don't give your time, don't give your body, don't give yourself to him and not get anything out of it if he breaks up with you. That's just the course of a relationship. There's no guarantee anything's going to happen unless you marry him. But some of these girls do not want to marry these older men. They just want him around to ensure that he takes care of their financial needs to a degree. She may have sex with him occasionally here and there, who knows? But the arrangement here is that, hey, look, you want my body, you want my time, you want all this, so I need you to sign this severance package. So therefore, if you break up with me, I'm still good. I'm still taken care of. All right, so what does he get if she breaks up with him? Well, you just get some fond memories. Literally, that's what's left here. He just gets good memories if she breaks up with him. But if he breaks up with her, there's money that's expected to be paid. And woe to the idiot dude who actually does this. Yes, there is an actual thing. This movement never really caught on, but you did have girls who were in relationships with older men to where they wanted severance packages. So if you break up with me, you still have to pay my bills. You have to pay for my car insurance. You need to pay for the apartment that I may be living in until I find somebody else. The F you talking about? And when she's confronted with the possibility that, no, I'm not going to keep paying for you. And let's say if a severance package isn't signed, a young lady even went as far as saying, okay, well, if you're not going to let me keep any of this, I'm going to just mess up the car. I'm going to mess up the apartment. She's laughing about this. I'm going to mess all this stuff up. Again, this is what you're going to find here if you start looking for that older guy who's got something that he's worked on, where you got the younger woman who's being coached by the older woman. Make sure that you get something out of him for your time, because he's going to steal your youth from you if you let him. So we'll also look at the older woman who doesn't want to date the older guy because in her mind, oh, he's got a whole bunch of problems. He hates his mama. He just hasn't grown. He hasn't matured. So I'm going to look for a younger man. And you got girls say, oh, good on you, girl. Good on you. Oh, there you go. Do your thing, Stella. But what she doesn't seem to have in mind, unless she's okay with entanglements and situationships, is that younger man is not looking for a sustained relationship with her. The mirror. I keep telling you guys, this is not what I'm pushing. Have a look. A younger man dating an older woman ends up being this young cat keeping his stroke regular, because he believes that now that she's free from motherhood, if she's had her children, or if she's divorced, or if she's widowed, She's ready to express herself and enjoy life. And you see that when you look at some of the blogs that are out here, or some of the articles, whereas I started living my life once my kids were out of the house, or living life after marriage, having my time back, I'm healing, I've got time for myself, and I'm being good to myself, all this type of stuff. So if you as a young man find a woman who is doing that, you might be lucky here. There is a level of restraint that may be lowered, and a level of inhibition that doesn't even need to be discussed. I say this because I used to be a young man, and I found an older woman that I kicked it with from time and time again who fit that description. But I wasn't looking to be there with her forever. Now, she thought I would be. Like, absolutely not. I didn't tell her that, woman, you got 2 kids. Why in the world with me as a young man, I'd be looking to sacrifice the years ahead of me by getting tied down with a woman who's got kids? Now, look at this for a woman who is now without kids. They've grown up. She may be a grandmother in that. She's on TikTok, she's got boobies out, microphone, excuse me. She's got the boobs out, she's got a little bit of the tailbone showing, short stuff like that. What are you advertising? Now, I'm not going to say that you don't have these dudes out here in the same age group doing the exact same thing. No, that would be hypocritical. But I'm speaking of it from the perspective of a man who is looking for a woman who shows discretion, who shows discernment. Am I seeing this if you got the boobies out, got the butt out here being shown, got the thigh always up in the air, talking about, hey girls, don't worry about what happens when you get to be 60 or whatever. We still out here killing the game. What are you killing? Other than your opportunities if a relationship is what you're looking for. Otherwise, you're just some girl out here past the age of relevance, still trying to be young. I'm still doing it. Who benefits from that? Well, you get a lot of clicks. Great. Good on you. You got attention. But what man of value is going to look for that? More so, is this man who's perceived to be a man of value actually valuable? So let's keep moving on that, right? I know this is pretty much a long one, but how often do we actually get down here and actually have the discussion about dating and being past a certain age? We don't do that enough. So I thought that today will be one of those unload days, all right? So I'm going to keep rolling with this. So we talked about the unruly woman, which in turn ends up being that woman sitting at the finish line, waiting for that man who's already finished, or looking for the man who's already finished to look for her. So we already got the end of this scenario, right? We're now looking at that dude. And the dude I'm talking about now is the unregulated male. The unregulated male is that guy who, by name, doesn't know how to regulate his emotions, doesn't know how to delay self-gratification. Everything is always about getting it in where he needs to. Sometimes these dudes become high-value men, or we'll say, I'm not going to say men of value, because there's a difference between a high-value man and a man of value. But let's look at just the whole basis of the unregulated male. Unregulated male is always seen as confrontational, which he generally is if you're looking at him from the younger age of 25 to 27. Again, we started this looking at dating when I was young in the mid-90s. So I can recall looking at guys who have walked by in 93, 94 when MC Lyte released Gotta Get a Roughneck. So he's got a hat on his head inside that says Thug on it. That was an in thing. Tupac all of a sudden became a thug and started talking thug life. So that's what the unregulated male was. But around this time frame, the thug life had transitioned from a bunch of guys, pushing you, stepping on my shoes, throwing hands. Now these cats are out here shooting. Yeah, these dudes are out here catching bodies, putting bullets in the air. Lead poisoning was a thing throughout the 90s because of all the gang violence. So fast forward 2025, the unregulated male is still here. But now he's on social media. He's got channels. He's talking to men and women. He's trying to lay down value points on how to attract women. Every other word, like these bitches, pardon my language, but yes, this is what this dude is talking. Yeah, man, if you're gonna move as a man out here, she needs to be on your program. You need to tell these bitches this. I'm like, whoa. Not that I'm taking any information from these guys, but I'm looking at the culture. Men past the age of 45 and 50 talking like this as if they're really giving advice to younger men on how to attract women while calling the same folks they're trying to attract bitches. Ladies, you hear me saying this. Do you find that to be any value? Whereas a man who is supposed to be getting your attention to earn your submission, are you going to fall in love with the guy who looks at you as being another one of these bitches who needs to get on his program? Their words, not mine. That's how an unregulated man moves. Now, he takes for granted what he's saying. He's hypocritical of the statements that he's making. Why would anyone fall in line with that? But yet, the unregulated man seems to always find that unruly woman. And the two of them somehow or the other end up having children, and it's a mess from start to finish. Messy all the way through. We're talking 1 kid, maybe 2 kids. He's out here dealing with 3 or 4 other women at the same time. She may go off, meet another man, have another kid with another dude. And so we just have this ongoing mess. It's just a messy situation here. But the whole time he's still talking about, yeah, man, find a woman, get on your program. Like, dude, you were with this girl over here, you left 2 kids. This girl over here, you left 1, and 3 or 4 other women that you had children with. How are you in a position to where you're going to start and try and clock people about finding women to get on your program when you can't even maintain a sense of stability yourself? The absolute madness and the ridiculousness of this all, right? Find somebody who knows somebody to tell somebody about what's going on. If you like it, let us know. Share it if you do. Subscribe if this is what you're looking for. All right, so it's time to go ahead and land this plane here. I think I've talked your ears off and given an idea of what dating looks like and some of the rules that we have to abide by, but also looking at the scenarios of what comes with that. Also looking at value that's placed in this. Dating after 55 is an absolute bitch. I'm going to go ahead and say this right now. And I said before when we talked about the segment of being able to reflect on the seasons that have gone past. If you're at a point right now where you are in your fall season and by yourself, it's not over. It is not over as of yet. You still have the opportunity to somehow find a way to bring somebody into your life, but you need to focus on those 5 factors: sight, sound, smell, touch, taste. You need to be genuine in your actions, both male and female. But for the most part, you can't sell yourself short on the internet looking for clicks, all right? We can't be doing that. So the last thing that I want to talk about, and I've made this mention before in previous videos, but I think this is the best place to land the plane and get out of here on. When I talked about what it is that a man was looking for a woman, I left one thing out. And the thing that I left out was submission. The reason being, when you say submission, there's still women who hear subservient. Oh, no, you're not taking my hour away from me. I'm not your slave. I don't work for you. No, that's not the smoke I'm looking for. Submission, once again, needs to be equated to her trust. Men submit first in a relationship, simply being when we walk up to you ladies and we see you and we decide, yeah, I'm digging what I'm looking at. Yeah, I want to be down. and we walk up and we approach and have that first conversation. Thus begins the match. That's where it all starts. Eventually, after some point in time, whereas we've been out dating and I've decided as a man, okay, I'm really feeling this girl. I want her to be the only one that I talk to if I am intentional. Now, I'm not talking about this game playing stuff anymore. I'm talking about intentional. So as I say this, hey girl, we've been at this for a minute and I'm sure you're the one that I want to talk to. You good to be my girlfriend? At that moment when she says yes, but here's my condition. You can't talk to anybody else. It's got to be me and only me. This is a bad habit. You have to excuse me. All right. This is not the indication of anything to come. Forgive me. But when she says it can only be me and just me, and you say yes, you're in it. As of right now, that man has showed submission to you. He has agreed to abide by a statement that has been made. He has agreed to follow the will of another. Now, how hard is that? If I say yes, the best thing I'm looking at right now is that, hey, I just got me a fly hottie. Hey, I got a baddie. That's the best case scenario that can come of this. The worst case scenario that can come of this is when you go through however long your courtship is, 6 weeks, or excuse me, not even 6 weeks, 6 months, a year or so, and it gets down to the point where you ask for her hand in marriage, and submission is what now he is asking back from you, and you deny that, we've got a problem. That man has already showed submission. He made sure that through the course of your courtship, 1 year, 2 years, however long before he actually got down to saying, will you marry me? He focused on you and just you. Now, this is where all those behaviors we have to think about hopefully don't come back. Remember, well, he asked me to marry him, but I'm worried about losing my individuality. We should not have to deal with this at this point. If that man showed submission and made sure you were the only person that he focused on, then there should be no reason why at this stage you cannot reciprocate, especially if he upheld his part of the deal. If he was not someone that you wanted to be with, you should have said something a year or two prior before this man asked for your hand in marriage. At no point in time should this man have to stop and look back and have to face the facts. I just wasted 2 years with someone that I dedicated strictly to them because that was the choice I was given. It is me or nothing. He chose her because he wanted to have the best. He wanted to ensure that the best outcome for the relationship was had between the two of them. That's where we are when a man asks a woman for her submission because he's already shown it. For her, your submission, ladies, this is what I want you to remember. Your submission is a choice that you have. There's a price tag on this. And the price tag is him earning your trust. So look at your submission as being your trust that he needs to earn. So therefore, ladies, you need to look in this man. You need to see in him the husband that you want. You need to see the examples of him being prepared to ensure your safety. Remember, his care, his protection, that is what you need to see in his actions that will then garner the trust that you need to say to that man, yes. So your submission is not you, bow, kneel, come to me. No, that is not what that is. Again, it is your choice to give. Your submission is you being able to say, I trust you. But before you do that, you have to see in this boyfriend, in this fiance, the husband that you want to be with. And if you see that in his actions, you've had 2 years in this scenario to see that, then you should know that that is your husband. You should have no problem saying yes. And if you choose to say yes, remember, he shows submission to you first. It's time for you to reciprocate. To whereas now, the peace that he is looking for you to bring will garner from him the care and protection that you desire. Mutuality is achieved. Isn't that a good thing if things work out that way? What's wrong with that, right? What's wrong with that? Not a damn thing. Ooh, there is so much more I could add to this, but I'm going to stop right there because, hell, we have hit the 2-hour mark. I wasn't intending to go maybe but 45 minutes, maybe an hour, but there's a lot that goes into relationships. And if you're going to be dating after the age of 50, you have to realize and come back around again that if you're doing this for a second time, you need to re-examine certain things that you may have missed the first time and take that into consideration the second, or even for some folks, the third time around or more. So we may revisit this again, and I may chop it down and pick one of the things out that we've talked about in this 2 hours and make it the main focus. But I think we've done enough right now. So again, I just want to say thanks for anyone who's taking the time to tune in. One more time, I want to give a shout out to Duke Mitchell for taking the time to help me grow the channel to 1,000 subscribers right about now. I want to say thanks to Hamp over at This Might Be Risky for giving me the spotlight to get in on the panel and get myself introduced to everyone. And also a shout out to Fatty as well for always sharing the links and taking the time to make sure that somebody knows what's going on over here, all right? So for the last time, find somebody who knows somebody to tell somebody about what I've got going on. If you like it, let me know, share it if you do, and subscribe if this is what you're looking for. I appreciate you folks hanging out with me for this value conversation. We'll talk next time. John Henry out.